Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all my episodes on speakingpodcast.com. I'm also on BitChute and YouTube. And I'm also a podcasting coach because I've got 4 other podcasts: the meditation podcast to help you chill, the awakening podcast to wake you up to what's going on in the world, but with solutions, Learn Polish podcast, and the speaking is we're about to do, and the crypto podcast. And you'll find everything on bio.link/podcaster. Today, my guest, please welcome Ananda Soundhararajan. I know I didn't do it justice. I apologize for your surname. You might please let people know your surname.
That's a long last name, I understand.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for me, to be honest with you. Yeah.
For sure. Hi, everyone. It's happy to be here.
Yeah, so you might, I know you've written a book, but I always like the listeners to, the guests to introduce themselves to the listeners. You might let people know who's Ananda.
Sure. So my name is Ananda Soundhararajan. As you see, I have the long last name. I live in Chicago with my family. I have 2 daughters, a 7-year-old and 4-year-old, and work for a company. It's a shoe retail company, and I'm one of the engineering leader there. And I have a team. So my team manages the APIs side of things, and it's a pretty busy time of the season because it's a retail company, and we have this Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all sorts of things. So it's been busy so far, but it's good.
It must be hectic at the moment.
Absolutely.
So I suppose let's get to know you a little bit first. I know you like marathon running, so you might let me know a bit about that.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah, this marathon thing is something I started back in 2019. I enrolled for a 5K in my daughter's school, and I went there. I was able to run maybe just 5 minutes. After that, I was like, I couldn't run. And I was looking at other kids and people who are like 10, 20 years older than me. They were running like a champ. That's when I was thinking, maybe I should focus on my fitness. And that's where it started. And also my dad, he had, diabetes and, a lot of, complications. And I felt, health is number 1 priority and focus on that. So wanted to challenge myself and enrolled for Chicago Marathon in 2020, and that's where my journey started. So ran the virtual. Then recently I also ran the New York City Marathon. So my goal is to run the major 6. You got like Chicago, New York, Boston, then Tokyo, Berlin, and London as well. So that way you get motivated to go to different places and also run, have fun.
That's fantastic to actually, have a reason to go to a country and then, have a holiday as well at the same time. So brilliant. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know as well that you're a volunteer for Girl Scouts, because I presume that's for your daughter that you got involved in that. And what does that entail?
Yeah, that's right. So I wanted to teach the leadership qualities and the community type of experience to my daughter, younger one. Younger one is still 4 years old, and eventually she's going to be part of Girl Scout as well. So yes, she's part of a Girl Scout camp in where we live right now, and I go there and volunteer. Even recently, Feed the Starving Kids is one of the event they organized, and we went there, and it was so good to see kids working together in a team, and also they're creating an impact to somebody sitting in Africa. They're going to feed those kids, and like that kind of stuff, right? It's amazing to have that impact when they're young, and I'm so proud of Girl Scout and what they do.
Excellent. I'm just curious because, like, normally craziness kind of happens in America and then it kind of floats across the waters to Europe. But I had seen that for the Boy Scouts, they were having girls going into the Boy Scouts. Are they doing the same with the Girl Scouts, allowing boys in? And like, it's a bit strange for me because I think at that young age you want to kind of keep them away. That was right. The reason from the start to set that up.
You're scaring me now. My daughter, is just 7, right? And so we are new to that. It's been a year. We are learning. So I don't know about that yet. Maybe there. So let's see how it goes.
Excellent. So I suppose getting into your speaking, because you're also a Toastmaster. So you might let me know from a young age, your kind of speaking journey and then going into the Toastmasters.
Sure. Like I said, I'm an engineer by profession. I come from computer science background, and I've been writing code and developing software for about 20 years now. And there was a time where I was just individual contributor, where you get the work, talk to the people and just get it done. You don't have to talk in front of many people. I didn't have a team to lead and all of that. I mean, after 10 years, I got into this leadership roles like either solution architect or managerial roles and all of that, where I will have to talk to people, my team, not just that, and also like talk to the partners and vendors, also the customers. And we put up a solution, and we know it is good, but then we have to be able to justify. We have to tell them the pros and cons and why did we take this route versus that route. And that's where I needed to be good at speaking. I still remember a time where we have a good design, but then I went to a meeting room in front of my customers, and they're asking a lot of questions, and I didn't do a good job. I was just shivering, and I didn't do what I have to deliver, and I couldn't convince them. So that's where I was thinking something is not right, and I realized I'm not good at speaking in front of people. It's okay, right? And I wanted to improve. That's when I came across Toastmasters, and my journey started back in 2018. And it's a great place, and I have a lot of credit to give to Toastmasters because it's a non-profit. A lot of people like you and me, they go there, they want to improve, and you learn from people. And that's where I started reading more books. So I'm grateful to those members I came across.
And I see as well, because I know that you're kind of trying to go for DTM as well. So, but when I was in Toastmasters, it was kind of like, who wants to take a membership role, VP of membership, VP of PR? And I always took whatever, so I ended up doing the whole lot of them. But what people don't realize is, say, for example, the vice president of membership, because of the training that you get and all the information, you can apply that to any business that you're doing, which actually, yes, it is a voluntary, you're not getting paid for it, but you're actually getting skill set that will help you in the future.
Absolutely. It's a good one you said. So last year I was the area director for the District 30 in Toastmasters, and I happened to manage 5 clubs. So when we say 5 clubs, each club, it has the leadership like president and all the roles and all of that, right? And at work, back then I was just managing one team, but then in Toastmaster, I was able to manage 5 different clubs, which I can simulate it in my workplace. It's more of managing 5 different teams. So I got that opportunity in Toastmasters, and there was a time where one of the manager left in my group, and my boss was like, "Can you manage it for the time being?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not? I have managed them in 5 teams in Toastmasters, and yes, I could do this." That's an area where it was very useful at work. And also in Toastmasters, as you know, like we have these contests, like speaking contest, table topics, evaluation, and all of that. And it's not easy to run a contest, especially when I had this area director role. I will have to worry about the club level contests and also the area level, then also help the division level and all of that. So there is a lot of preparation work happens before and after the contest. So the briefing meetings and planning the team and all of that. So in the place where I live, in the neighborhood, the Sanctuary Point, and all the diversified people, like people from China, people from Korea, India, then Americans, Mexicans, like Georgia, like all different culture of people. We live, it's about 25 families, and we wanted to do a block party, and they were looking for someone to volunteer and organize. So I definitely used the skills I learned in Toastmasters to plan this event better, and sending out agendas, and it worked out really well. And at the end of the event, they all appreciated me, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is good. It's all I learned from Toastmasters, and I was able to implement the people I know, and it's amazing.
And the thing is, because I was involved with 4 clubs at one stage, an online club in Finland, as well as forming my own club when I was in 2. Every club is different, and there's cliques there, and there's kind of personality clashes. So you it's like the real world basically, because there's people that just don't get on, and you have to, especially if they're in different roles, and if you're you have to make sure everybody comes together. So I think there's not only the benefit of speaking, but there's so much different things you'll benefit from it as long as you put in the time. Because what you've done, area director and the different roles, it is a lot of time. There's it's
lot
not
of time.
there is people that do nothing. There's people that'll take the role because they want the badge and they want to actually look good, but they will do nothing. But there's other people that actually, they really want to help the club and push it. But I think at the end of the day, it's your gaining.
Right. Yeah. What you offer is what you're going to gain, right? You challenge more yourself and you're going to learn more. So that's what I learned. So definitely it's a great place. And I agree with you, like certain clubs are different, unique, and
Yeah,
you have to
exactly.
pick your club. And the club I'm in, Lake County Toastmasters, it's a wonderful club. A lot of good people. They always help each other. And I would say it's a safe place for you to fail.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't mind failing right there.
Like when you were the area, I know you can't enter a competition when you have a role, but did you actually enter competitions yourself when you were not the area director?
Right. Prior, yeah, you're right. I mean, as an area director, we cannot contest in the items, right? And yes, prior to the area director, I think it was back in 2020 where I contested in speaking contest, the international speaking contest, where I delivered a speech about a title called "Love Yourself." It was based on a book, and the transformation has to start from within, right? And it's about that content. And I won at the club level, and I went to the area to second place. So,
Oh, excellent. Yeah. And
yeah.
it's strange because sometimes it's only first place. It depends on how many clubs are in the division or the
Right.
district to go forward. And or if the person isn't able to make it. But I think it would be nice to get the first three people to go forward because, as I mentioned, the click that can happen in the voting as well, where they're voting for kind of their friends as opposed to the actual person that's the better speaker. So I think by allowing the first three, it kind of creates a fairer system.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you're now an author, so you might let me know the title of the book, and we'll delve into that because it's fascinating for me.
Yep. Great. Thanks for asking. And it's a big deal for me. It's like a dream come true moment for me. So, machine learning, getting started. Launch yourself into machine learning. I come from a background where English is not my first language. Tamil, which is my native language. I come from southern part of India. And when I started my career in engineering is when I started doing English as primary and all of that. And in the beginning, I'm a good developer and I do a lot of technical certifications and all of that. But the moment if I have to talk to people, write emails, it was very tough because especially the clients, they speak only in English and I will have to communicate in English, either speaking or writing. It was always a big issue. Um, it took time for me to get along. I read a lot of news. So basically, I forced myself to get better with English because it's important for me to go out of my comfort zone and all of that. So that's where my journey started. And back in 2011, I believe, in Columbus, Ohio, when I was um, there was an opportunity for me to publish a white paper. It was on non-relational database systems. So back then, MongoDB, Cassandra, all those pretty new and new concepts. And I did some research. I learned and put my notes together. And there was a technical writer. She did help me to edit that content and made it to the next level. I really loved the journey. Me learning, putting my contents together and working with editors and them finding issues. I mean, when I say like, hey, this is maybe you can cut down a little bit, you can add more details here. And so that experience back and forth and a lot of learning. And I became a better, writer through that exercise. That's what I reflected. And so I had a kick right there. Then I let it go. You move along with the life, and I got married, kids, and then I always had this thought in my mind. Okay, 2020 is when COVID started, and I had more time sitting at home. What I can do earlier because I used to spend at least 90 minutes in the morning, 90 minutes in the evening for commute to go to work and all of that. Now I got that extra time. So I just wanted to see if I have that extra time, what I can do. Earlier, I used to always think, oh, I wish I had extra time. I wish I had time to do all that, right? And so that's when I thought about, okay, how about writing a book? Because I liked that exercise. And then on the side, I always keep myself up to date, stay relevant to what I do. So that's when thought about getting knowledge in artificial intelligence, machine learning. So I was attending some courses, reading books and all of that. And even though I come from computer science background, in past, any new technology, whether it is DevOps or any cloud certifications, AWS or Azure, or even Java certifications, I was able to do it in 4 to 6 weeks. Like you put some time and understand the concepts and connect the flow and go from there. So, but then this machine learning, every time when I listen to the content from YouTube or Coursera or Udemy or even from books, right, and they always talk different terms, different languages, and it's good. They all come from, I mean, PhD and all the academic background. But then I'm someone who go from the traditional, I mean, the development background, where I wanted samples for me to try out and like, hey, it's working, right, and then get excited and go on top of it. And so it was rough in the beginning, I would say. First, I mean, a year I couldn't really get the overall, I mean, picture of it, and I was going back and forth. It was very dry as well, right? And but then I didn't give up. I'm someone, I mean, if I like something, I mean, if I want something, I'll go for it, right? And I kept on going on after it. And but after 2 years, I noticed when I went back to my notes, I was able to connect all the dots. um, I just thought, okay, so I spent, I mean, 2 to 3 years for me to get here. Why not? I wanted to write book as well. I got a lot of notes right now. Why don't I put it together in a nice way and publish a book? That's where it started. And yeah, I think it was last year October precisely. I got this idea. I started putting my contents together and all of that. And there is a nice website called Upwork, because I wanted, I mean, technical editors, not just any editor, because you may be good at English, but then you'll have to understand what I'm talking about in machine learning, right? It's critical. So that's where I had some challenges. I had to work with them in I think 3 or 4 different people, and found the right person. And then I went on top of it. Then this content editing, then the copy editing, formatting, a lot I learned. But yeah, I was able to publish it this year, August, and I'm happy. It's a big milestone for me.
Excellent, excellent. I've used Upwork as well, and it's a kind of hit and miss, because you can find fantastic people there, but you have to kind of sift through it to get the right person to do exactly what you're looking for. So it's a good platform, to be honest with you, when you get the right people there. So, like machine learning and AI, then how could you determine the difference between them? Like, explain to people what's the difference?
Sure, that's a good question. So artificial intelligence, that's the parent, that's a bigger concept, right? And machine learning is subset of artificial intelligence. And you also have deep learning, which is the subfield of even machine learning, right? And artificial intelligence is the grandparent, and machine learning is the parent, and deep learning is the son or daughter. So it starts from artificial intelligence, and it's been there from 1950s. And but then it was only in the labs, like in academics, universities, and all of that, and they were just elaborating it and all of that. Lately, it has come to the mainstream. I would say in the last, I mean, 10 years. It's all because of the digital transformation we are in. Now, if you look at it, I mean, 10 years before versus now, we have iPhones, we have smartphones, all the devices are connected, Internet of Things, and we are generating tons of data. In every second, we are, I mean, generating tons of data comparing to 10 years back. And these applications, like whether it is machine learning or deep learning, you need, I mean, a lot of data. These are, I mean, data hungry applications. So what we are doing here is we are using the data to train your program and developing a solution out of it. So next time when there is a new scenario, you don't have to write code like we do in a traditional setup. For example, when I expose an API to place an order or to add product to the cart in my retail world, if there is anything changes, if there is a new product type, or if there is a new fulfillment, like 1 day shipping versus 2 day shipping, then I will have to make some changes in my API to accommodate the new scenario. But whereas with machine learning, once you train your model with the data you have, you don't have to train the I mean, you don't have to make any changes when there is a new data. So that's where the difference. So there are some of, I mean, applications where you cannot, I mean, write code manually. So that's where this machine learning is becoming handy for you to train with different data sets and all of that. But the challenge here is having the right data. And given the digital transformation, we're getting, tons of data from different sources. So we were able to leverage all the data to train the model and develop good machine learning solutions. That's one thing. And also the compute power. The traditional program we write, it can run in CPUs, but then this machine learning solutions, if you have to train with massive data, you need, massive compute power as well. So that's where this cloud came into picture, and we were able to get the GPUs, the graphical processing units. Comparing to CPU, I would say this GPUs, which are 100 times faster than CPUs, and you need such a horsepower for you to process this massive data. And these two things, the massive data and the high compute power, we all can afford now, given the cloud, and anybody can afford. So that's the secret for the machine learning to become mainstream in the last 10 years. And we are just, scratching the surface. Long way to go. A lot of wonders to have going to happen.
And kind of, as you say, the grandfather, then the AI, because we're hearing a lot lately, Elon Musk scaring people. He mentioned it years ago. And I mean, I kind of look at it as, from what I see, is it down to the programmer who, if they're evil, they're putting out something that's evil, but there's a way more higher percentage of people that are good and want to do better in the world. So is it a case of the better programmers can actually kick out the bad ones? Because I know DARPA own it. It's probably been around 10, 20 years before people were aware of it. So I'm just curious, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's a good one. Any technology is always here to help the people, to make our life easier, right? And that's where it starts. But then you always have that good versus bad, right? And there are people, they want to, hackers, hacking him in or devices at home. So those kind of things are going to happen. We cannot avoid it. Anything in life, right? There is always good versus bad. It's all about, the majority of the people. For example, time is critical for everybody. I'm married, I have kids, I'm working, and also I'm writing book, being in podcast and all of that. And so we can, more than the money, if you ask me, after health, time is critical, and where we spend time. I don't want to drive myself all the time, right? Yes, I love driving, but then, for example, if you're going on a trip for 5 hours, I want to relax, spend time with family, right? And so that's where I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. He's going to have the fully autonomous driving, almost there. So if machines can replace those mundane activities, then we can have our time to do some creative work or some family time, all of that. So yes, technology is here to help us to make our life better.
If we look
there
at
are
the
always
cars,
that one person,
like if we look at
Go
the
ahead.
cars, because most people's cars are sitting outside either their house or their office, and they might, I don't even think they use it 5% of the time, but even if they do, and if you say, if you don't have to be paying attention, because one, if you're driving, as you mentioned, an hour and a half each way, a lot of people I know, especially in the States, they have that kind of journey, which is a long journey. It's tiring. So you're coming home
Right.
from a day's work and then an hour and a half drive. If you could actually be relaxing during that time, reading a book, and that the car is driving for you, you're a different man coming into the house. So I actually see the advantages of that. They also say that not as many cars are needed, which means less traffic, because being stuck in traffic, I don't think anybody enjoys, and not everybody can commute by, say, a train or a tramway or something like that, that they don't have to worry about things like that. So I see the advantages of that. Also, if we look at, say, like taxis, like say Bolt and stuff like that, we've all been conditioned to get cheaper taxis now with Uber and then Bolt and stuff like that. And eventually I know that it's going to become that you're just so used to getting into a car with a stranger that you're going to get into a car with nobody. So do you really need to buy the car, when if you look at depreciation and everything? So I can see advantages to all that. But on the other side, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the time it's the bad boys controlling this. So they just turn off the tap and we're all stuck at home and we can't actually get out. Or they say, like, what happened to craziness in the last 2 years. And even in Ireland, it was like you have a 2-kilometer radius where you can go to. I mean, it's all been proven now that it was all fake and all the information they spewed. But unfortunately, when you've got people controlling systems, all these companies were compliant. So there's the downside and the danger that you give your autonomy away. You don't have your sovereignty, and I don't have a car, I don't have this, and they just turn it off. So there's a kind of plus and minus for the whole thing.
I agree. I fully agree. Yeah, even my daughter was mentioning it, right? And we have Alexa at home, right? And Alexa is listening to all the conversations what we have at home, right? And there is a theory that it records for the training purposes and all of that.
They've been caught for that.
Yeah,
That's been
right.
proven. I actually did an episode, but we didn't release it because we knew I'm already being shadow banned and kicked off. So we kind of decided not to bother. But even their doorbells and everything, like they're recording everything. And we're all just kind of going along because it's convenience. And like, is it convenient? Is it brilliant? Is it making our life easier? Yes. But it needs to be in the right hands, and that your data is not taken. Like, people just assume I have to give up my data. No, you don't.
Yeah, that is true. I agree. They just exploit people's data. I totally agree. And yeah, so it has to be highly transparent. Even the US election, it happened, right? And they were able to control to some extent, right? I mean, the control election results based on the data. And yeah, there were a few congressman reviews with Facebook and big companies like Google.
Yeah, they've all been caught. They've all been caught fraudulent. And yet, because they're so big, nothing is done. And it's like one of these things. But like on the other side, something that I worry about, like I've noticed it years ago when they started reducing, say in the supermarkets, it became you clock out yourself. And normally for somebody with, a couple of 5 items and they just scan it and get out, you're not queuing up. But it's gone to the stage now where there's like one person that's actually taking the baskets and the rest are all self-checkout. And yes, it's great for, like if you can have cars that are driving from themselves, if you can have trucks, but what alternatives are there for the blue collar workers? Because you don't want a system where everybody is depending on the state for a handout.
That's an excellent question. So a lot of people will think, these machines are going to replace the job what humans have. But I agree that's the surface level when we think about it, right? But if we go deep, even if we go back in history, when they introduced ATMs in 20 years back, 30 years back, they all thought, it's going to replace the bank tellers. But then that's not true, right? And we are still happily using ATMs, and it has given the time back. Now, even if I want to deposit a check back, I can use my Chase mobile app and scan the check and deposit it. And it has given me the time back. And there are, banks, branches still have tellers and all of that. Those are for specific, use cases, right? And we don't want, tellers to do these mundane activities. But then it has increased jobs for the smart banking. They will have to build the system, they will have to maintain it, and so at a high level, what I'm trying to say is it's transforming the jobs the way we do to a different way, right? And it's going to create opportunities in different areas. But so what we have to do is the workforce will have to stay relevant and they will have to learn the new way. And I'm sure companies, are teaching their employees to use the new technology. And a lot of times, they may be doing a few things in a very manual way, like, even in hospitals, you go, you will have to fill out the forms. If you have an appointment at 9:30, you'll have to go at 9 so that you fill out all those forms, all the questionnaires, right?
All the information they have already.
Yeah. So a lot of paperwork, if you look at it, right? We're printing so much, papers, cutting so many trees, and also the time. And also somebody has to assist you if you have questions, and so they will have to collect, they have to scan, then they will upload, and or they have to maintain big pile of notebooks and all of that. But the moment you automate it, and now I get an email, hey, can you check in right before your visit? I can just sit at home, or while I'm in the car, I can do the check-in, and as soon as I go, they have all the information and it's good to go. Now, there is no need to write something. I mean, writing is good, but then there is no need to like fill out all the stuff, right? And once they collect it and they have it, and if there are any changes, you just need to update, and otherwise, it's all digitalized, and yeah, we are saving time. We are saving, I mean, also the labor cost and paper, cutting trees, and all of that. So yeah, there is definitely, like I said, it's always the technology is here to improve people's life, right? And
I think we have
yeah,
to remove the governments to a level of where they actually care for the people. Because if you look at, say, when you want to get a passport, you have to go away and get your birth certificate. You go to a government institution, you have to drive there, you have to queue up, you have to pay money, and then you have to go to another one. When you're going from one government institution to another, and you've just wasted half a day, sometimes a day. And there's a load of things like that, driving license. There are so many things like that, that the reality is that could be changed in a split second to stop all that stupidity. Like,
that is true. Very well said, right? And personally, I had two daughters, and they were born in US, and for them to go to India, I will have to get the visa, the OCA, and all of that, right? And there is tons of documentation, and I will have to renew it like once in 5 years, and it's not easy. Not just those documentation, and also that notarization, and like all of that part, right? And even if I have to renew my passport, not a joke. I get like stressed out as well. There is a lot we can automate. I fully
and that's
agree.
the thing. You get the notary document, then you have to go to the apostille to prove that the notary is legitimate. And it's like just
Right,
another one, isn't it? Is it free? No, of course not. You have to pay for that as well. Like, so.
right. I agree. There
So,
is an
like,
improvement.
what's for those that want to get into this? Is this something you have to have the degree to start kind of learning how to do this? Or can somebody that was into gaming and stuff like that, just like computers, can start learning this from a basic level? Of course, obviously there's massive levels, but I think even when you're in university, because technology is going so fast, I'd say most of the time when you're finished, it has totally changed by the time the new guys come in.
Right. Good one. Very good one. This is a good question. So a lot of times when people think to get into machine learning or data science, you have to have a PhD, some degree from computer science and all of that from top universities like Stanford and all of that. That's not true. I'm not saying I mean no to that. You can still have those good degrees and become an expert in this area. But anyone who has interest to get into data, they don't have to have those big degrees and all of that. As long as if they are good at analyticals, I mean, any engineering mindset is enough. And because it's not always writing code, it's not always like um, doing that complex algorithm and all of that. There is a lot of work. For example, when we talk about supervised learning, where we have to label the data. If you have like cat and dog images, and if you want to identify cat images, for example, if you have thousands of images, and you will have to label, is it a cat or no cat? Like those kind of labeling. So anybody can do it, right? We don't have to have a degree, right? As soon as you look at the image and we can tell. Just an example, right? The same way in computer vision, in natural language processing, there are areas where you have a lot of content, and as long as if you know the language and if you can use your analytical skills, you can use that to prep the data and a lot of that. Because when it comes to machine learning or deep learning, you spend more time in the data. Once you have the right and quality data, then you'll be able to build the effective models. So yes, with the analytical skills and the basic, knowledge, you should be able to get started. And based on your interest, you can pursue specific roles as well down the line.
And when you go into some websites, I don't know what they call it, catch, where it's basically confirming that you're a human and they show you the pictures. I've been told that that's actually, I don't know what you call it, AI or machine learning, that the computer's using different images, that it's learning from you to say whether a cat has turned up the right way or hit the traffic lights and different things like that in a picture. Is that true, that that's the actual machine learning from the humans to fill out these forms?
Right. So they use machine learning on the background, right? And but what they're trying to do is before you use any service of them, they want to make sure, you're a real human being. lot of times the machines, not the machines, I would say bot. Those are not, I mean, organic traffic. For example, in the company I work for, shoe retailer, and we have all the popular shoes. Like we just have limited quantity, which is very popular. Everybody wants it, and we have only 100 quantities, but then there is a demand for 10,000, demand from 10,000 or 100,000 people. And there are also the retailers. For example, if you're selling a shoe for $200, they want to get the shoes and sell it for $500 in the market, right? And so what they do is they're going to try to compete with the normal human beings, and they're going to try to get those shoes. So that's where they're going to generate that traffic. We call it as bot traffic, and so that they can get the shoes, and they can make some profit. But our goal is to prevent those automated machines, and we want to encourage and enable actual humans, our customers, our loyal customers, to get our products. So that's why you have those authentication, just a way of authentication to ensure, I mean, because when we have those images, I mean, dog, I mean, standing upside down, or like it's difficult for the bots to get through such type of authentication. So it's more of, I mean,
But
a
I'm
way to
sure they can
ensure.
probably get over that at this stage. Can they, that they can do that? And with the bots, because with the crypto podcast as well, like I mean, and if you look at, say, social media, the amount of people, doing the likes, fake likes, and followers, all the different things that are happening, and say bidding in for NFTs and fake bids and stuff like that.
You see that?
Like,
Yeah.
I would love that to be stopped, because, to be honest,
Yes.
like, that's not authentic. That's fraudulent. And
Exactly.
can we set up a decent, AI to actually just wipe them out?
Yep.
Because nobody likes
Absolutely.
that.
Nobody likes it, right? And also, if somebody uses a credit card, for example, I'm in Chicago, you're in Europe, and while we are talking, and if somebody else uses my credit card in Poland, that's not authentic, right? That's fraudulent. So that's where this machine learning solutions becomes very handy to catch those anomaly detections and all of that. You got an alert in your phone. Hey, did you do it? Right? And you can say no, then that's it. They're going to reject it. And those are instant alerts, and it's all based on, I mean, those models, the machine learning models.
That's the one thing that I actually like. I don't mind the extra step for the debit card, say, because something comes in and you have to validate it, or else log in and get the PIN code through your phone, because there's still ways around it, but it stops so much fraud. And at the end of the day, yeah, you're supposed to be protected, but I know a lot of people, they never got their money back. They got the run around from the banks, and they didn't get covered like they're supposed to. So when you have a system that's kind of protecting you, that it doesn't happen in the first place, because, as we mentioned earlier, your time is precious, and you don't want to be chasing a bank, because it's not a 10-minute thing. It's like, normally it takes you an hour just to hold on the line to get through to them, and it's another day wasted for something. And if it's a small amount of money, you're not going to chase it, which is a shame, because that's what happens as well. People, they look at kind of what's going on and the value of it, and they go, my time is more important than that. And unfortunately, a lot of the fraudsters and insurance companies and a lot of the phone companies, they do these little tricks. They charge people an extra $10 or something, because they know people will just say no, and they make millions knowing that there's only a tiny fraction of a percentage that will actually come back. Do they get compensation for their time wasted? No. And we need to kind of change that as well, because that's something that they know what they're doing, and they should get serious fines that should be distributed to every person that's been affected.
Awesome. Nicely said. Like, it may be a tiny amount from your credit card, right? But then there are billions of people, and if they do that, yes, they're going to make millions and millions. I agree. Nice. You put it nicely.
So finally, where do you see the future of this with machine learning, AI? I mean, you're obviously in that space a lot deeper than me. So I'd like to, what's your kind of thoughts of where the future is going with this?
Absolutely. That's a good one again. Mainly, like I said, I mean, billions of people, right? I mean, close to 9 to 10 billions. And there is still shortage of food, right? And especially I come from agriculture background back in India, and there is shortage of food and also shortage of labors. So that's where machine learning and this automation, artificial intelligence is gonna come into picture, where more of the precision agriculture, you have basically producing more by investing less. You may have decent amount of water, and how can you use that water effectively, and also maybe 1 acre land. Right now, if you're getting, a decent, harvesting, and how can you maximize it like to 3x or like 10x with the same amount of land, same amount of water, with the same amount of resources you have. How can you maximize it? So that's where this precision agriculture is one new concept. It's going to come and going to help us to solve that food shortage issues. That's just one example. Likewise, you can optimize the way you solve things, make it, to better, and to increase your productivity and all of that. Most importantly, it's going to replace all the mundane, activities, what we do.
I could
And
see like
yeah,
advantages with, for example, like the machines that are removing vermin, that's actually, instead of spraying all the pesticides that are going into our system, and then you could, especially in India, remove the likes of Monsanto, because they have crucified a load of the Indian farmers. I'm well aware of, the amount of people that have lost their livelihoods, and unfortunately they threw in the towel because of corruption from companies like that. So I could see the advantages of having systems that they're getting the best output of their area of
yes,
land.
absolutely.
Because at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, you want it to be actually on the end user, the farmer, that's actually getting the money, not the middlemen, or not these corrupt companies that come in and say, hey, you have to buy our seed, and then, oh, it blew into your farm, so now we're going to sue you. A whole evil system. So both, like we've been discussing the whole way, there's a way to do this right, and there's a way to stop these people from doing it. And people just have to, I think they just have to be conscious of what's going on as well.
Right. Absolutely. You're right. Yeah. So mainly it's going to help us with the labor, shortage needs. And yeah, human labor is expensive, right? And we don't want them to do some dangerous condition works, working in, especially I come from southern part of India where it is too hot all the time, right? And it's very tough to be on the field when it is too hot, on the road works and all of that, right? And we can certainly automate and
stop child
give the time
labor as
back.
well, because I know child labor happens in India as well as Pakistan and
Exactly.
Africa, and get them, the education that they
Level.
deserve.
Absolutely, nicely said. Yeah, child labor, that's very big thing, right? And so it's they're forced to do it only because there is labor shortage, right? And that's not the right thing to do what they're doing, but at least give them the solution, right? And machines definitely can replace all those jobs.
Excellent. And I think, thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's given me a bit of hope, because there's a few times I've talked to people about AI and it's all about doom and gloom. And I always had that kind of belief system that the good people are actually to make it done right. And then let them vermins that are trying to hurt humanity just disappear, and not to be even fighting them, just create something better. And, society starts moving in that direction. So you might let me know, where can people find you?
Oh, excellent. Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. And I also have a YouTube channel, Let's Become ML Engineers, where I post videos on a weekly basis. And like I said, my goal is to make software engineers to take this machine learning journey in a smoother way. I spent 2 to 3 years for me to get here, to understand the basics and all of that. And so without, using big buzzwords and all of that, and make it simple for them to understand the basics. And there is a lot of good contents out there in internet, right? Free contents. So they can just leverage and go on top of it. Yes, I do have a YouTube channel where I post videos. People can subscribe to get updates. And also I'm very active in LinkedIn, and also have a website, let's become mlengineers.com, that is still in the initial stage. And so I will have to make sure, I keep it up to date. But those are different ways to stay in touch with me.
Okay, perfect. And just on your YouTube channel, because I've listened to a few of the videos, and sometimes you go into different channels and you're watching for an hour and a half an hour. You have like specific on a topic, so it's like a couple of minutes, maybe to 5 to 10 minutes. and
Yes.
it's easy to digest. So you're explaining it in a way that I can understand, that doesn't have,
Right.
the background that you would. And yeah, it's done well. So
Sure.
listen, thank you
Thanks for
very much.
mentioning it, because sure, last one, since you mentioned about
Yeah.
2 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes content, right? It's all because of Toastmaster. So any speech, if you see, right, we do it in, 5 to 7 minutes, right? And we're all busy. We are getting a lot of contents. Every minute is valuable. So that's where I want to make sure, I put my script together and, do the groundwork and make it simple within 5 to 7 minutes, so that I don't want to take people's time for granted. So that's the reason. Thank you for saying
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no problem. So I'll make sure I'll put the links both in the audio and the video. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and it's great to be here, and I learned a lot, and some of the questions were, mind blowing. Really appreciate it, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, definitely. And just for those, obviously this was the speaking podcast, but because it was so relevant to what's going on in the world, and I think of all the information that was shared, I'm going to put it on the Awakening podcast as well. So for those that are listening, if you're wondering why it started off with the speaking podcast and ended with the Awakening, I put on shows that are actually relevant. So you find everything about me on bio.link/podcaster. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating. It really helps. Until next week, take care.